here. And video should be there. If it's not, let me know. It should be, because I'm looking at the screen and I see myself. Happy Friday, y'all. Excuse me. All right, so we have the SMT podcast. It is August 20th, 2021. Happy Friday to all at the time of the broadcast. And if you are watching this at a later time, hashtag replay crew. Appreciate you guys for, tuning in to the show. And it doesn't matter if you're watching it live or replay. All the same to me. Appreciate the support, and I'm glad you enjoy the content. What up, Blaze? What's happening, broski? What I want to do with tonight's show is pretty straightforward. I think the week's theme is cybersecurity, so I'll talk about the T-Mobile data breach. I want to actually look at cybersecurity from a holistic point of view, industry-wide, stuff like that. I think it's fair to look at it in that perspective. So we'll look at the T-Mobile case, we'll look at the potential AT&T case and how it's different or the same or whatever. And also, just as an industry standard, I think we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem. Hashtag save the bear. Nice. I think also I want to talk about Dish and Verizon. They have yet to be hacked. Not sure how Dish would get hacked, but or their involvement with this. I don't know if it really matters, but I think Verizon is something to consider. Carlos got me to thinking. We were having this conversation earlier. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before. Targeting marketing in regards to cybersecurity. You could say, we're the most secure carrier after this type of data breach. If it were to happen, confirmed from AT&T, all that's left is really Verizon and then Dish too. They could do that as soon as they go live. So he got me to thinking about that. And then I started thinking about prepaid, because prepaid doesn't have all of that information in most cases unless you finance something from them. MVNOs and stuff like that. They don't really need to be too secure because people don't really give up their information in most cases. But we'll talk about that a little bit. I think it's fair to also consider cable operators, Spectrum and Xfinity and Comcast. Oh yeah, and then that's right, David. And for Carlos, don't save the BBW for those. Oh man, terrible. Oh, I also actually want to talk about the Google Pixel 5a from the cellular standpoint, and then also the camera. There's a situation there with the video recording. Some people disappointed and such. T-Mobile wants to use Spectrum for free. They don't like paying for stuff. What else is new? Trying to be the opportunistic carrier, if you will. And I don't know. That might be everything that we're going to cover in tonight's show, I think. Okay. Anyways, I want to first start the show by saying thank you. Big shout out to Alex B for his continued support of the SMT YouTube channel with his Venmo donos and all of that. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's an incredible gesture, and again, thank you very much for supporting. Also, big shout outs to Lance H and No Radio for coming onto the Patreon page. Welcome to the community. Hope you enjoyed the extra content, all the perks and exclusives and all that. If you want to be a part of that community, there's a link down here in the description box. We got tiers that range from 1, 2, 3, and then we even have a 5 tier. And every different support pledge has a different, different exclusivity suite. And of course, we do have the Los Mobile discount promotion. It's basically like a group purchase. So it gets you unique features, and it gets you like a 5 to 10% discount depending on the plan you have. So check it out. We winning. And big shout out to Los Mobile for offering us that promotion. We appreciate it greatly. Thank you, man. And actually, before we get started, moderators, if I can get a link to the Los Mobile website, the email address, or the Twitter page, or the Discord, however people know how to get Los Mobile service, it is absolutely tremendous, and it is powering this live stream. So, big shout out to Los Mobile. Yeah. All right, let's see what's going on. Let's start with the first story. Yeah. All right, so the first story I'll start with is the Google Pixel 5a. All right. The Google Pixel 5a is a classic mid-ranger. It is not designed to be some kind of flagship. It's really not. It does have some flagship-like performance in some instances and some applications. Honestly, I would say that the software experience, the UI, the layout, you know, it's a really, because I have the Google Pixel 5. The 5a is very similar when you look at the specs and the performance and all that. So I know how the 5a is going to perform. In most cases, I think I do. There might be some nuances there. I don't know. I'll have to test it and see. But I think some people are losing track of what the Google Pixel 5a represents. It represents the pinnacle of mid-range hardware for Android. And David, we'll talk about that tier on Patreon soon. The phone itself, the Pixel 5a, is going to be probably the best option for a sub 500 phone, probably this year and then next year as well, if you think about it, because next year it'll be a little bit cheaper. It's future-proofed in that it has all of the cellular bands, LTE and 5G for the most part, with the exception of millimeter wave. Now, I was pretty bummed out when I saw that originally the report was that it had millimeter wave, and then we later found out that it doesn't support millimeter wave. I'm not sure if it's hardware definitively or if it's carriers just aren't enabling it for whatever reason. To me, initially I thought it was carriers disabling it. I think we later found out it looks more like a hardware restriction and that it's been omitted. So it got me to thinking, how many people out there bought the Google Pixel 5a for the millimeter wave access? Are there any people out there that were like, man, I'm getting this phone, it's got millimeter wave? There probably aren't many of those people, and I think it's because of that reason that Google probably omitted it to really bring the cost savings to the phone. When you sell a mid-range phone, you're not trying to make it a flagship. You're trying to fit it into a smartphone experience for a user who doesn't want to spend $700, $800, $900, $1,000 or more. They're trying to keep the cost down. Do I think there should be a version of the Google Pixel 5a with millimeter wave? You could make that argument, but it would probably be a Verizon exclusive, like what we saw last year with the 5 and the 4A 5G, and then the 4A 5G had that unique color to Verizon, and that one was the only one with millimeter wave. The other models only had, you know, the sub 6 gigahertz. So I don't think this is make or break for the phone. I think a lot of people who are looking at this phone are content having this phone without millimeter wave. If you are hell-bent on getting a Google Pixel mid-range-ish phone with millimeter wave, you should be looking at the 5. You can save some money compared to last year's pricing. I think in a lot of instances you can get a good deal on it. You can even buy it secondhand and save a ton of money. That phone is more flagship than the 5A anyway. The build quality a little bit, the wireless charging. I think the IP rating might be a little higher. I think it's IP68 as opposed to the 5A, which is IP67. The 7 and the 8 represent water ingress. I think the 6 represents dust proofing. So, you know, it has its advantages. And maybe we just need to be a little bit realistic about the expectations of a mid-range in that price point. Maybe it doesn't really need millimeter wave. Maybe there's not even much millimeter wave around you in your market. Now, for me, I'd be a little bit disappointed, a little bit, but I have a 5. And I'm going to get a 6 or a 6 Pro. If Google is nice enough to send out the 6 or the 6 Pro, I'm terribly excited to test it on the networks, and I love Google phones. Before Google started sending me phones, I was buying them. And I was reviewing them, and I was using them and testing. Right? I've always loved the user experience of the Google phones. I've had all the mid-rangers. I've had the Pixels. I've had the flagships. I've had all of them, even going back to the Nexus days. So I could tell you, it's always going to be a good experience. That little nuance might be, undesirable, but it's not make or break in my opinion. Now, where I think things for the Google Pixel 5a become troublesome is the fact that one of its key features, which is its camera and its video recording, I believe it's the high resolution video recording in the 60 frames setting. So the 4K 60 frames. That is a very taxing and demanding task. That feature in and of itself oftentimes requires the spec sheet on a phone to be pushed to the maximum, meaning flagship processor, flagship RAM quantity, if they would call it that. So 6 gigs of RAM is like bare minimum. 8's probably better. 10 and 12, we've seen that with Galaxies and OnePlus devices. They throw tons of RAM at phones, and the processors are flagships. That's where things get tough for this phone, and I've said it in previous videos, and in reference to flagship phones and their video rendering, editing, and all that. It can be a tough task to do. Now here's the thing, Josh, you said 2017 phones did 4K 60. Flagship 2017 phones did. This is still not the processor to really do it properly. So while the 5A does do it, it's got like a 10-minute max, and then it overheats and it gives you like a heat warning. So it can do it, but it can't do it right. I think what's going to end up happening, and Google would be wise to do this, is send some sort of a firmware software update to the phone to help it achieve that task a little bit more effectively. Even if it means you have to kind of slightly tune down the processing power, as long as it doesn't affect the functionality too much. Because there's a lot of good about this phone, and hopefully that doesn't deter people from buying it. Because think about it. It's got a decent processor. It's got a great camera. The video is much improved from what I understand. You're going to get the best software experience. You're going to get long-term support. It's got a very large battery relative to Google phones. There's a lot going for this device. That really seems to be the fatal flaw, though. If somebody's recording in 4K 60 frames, they're going to have trouble. So, I don't mean to rain on the parade of the 5A. It's definitely not perfect, and it's definitely not flagship, and it was not designed to be. Maybe that means you have to temper your expectations, or maybe that means you have to stay away from the phone. It's not for you if you're a flagship kind of person. That's your call. Remain objective, I think, is the best approach. All right, so I'll leave that there for you guys. Kind of chew on that and think about that. Before we proceed, do me a solid. Go into the live chat. There is a poll I would like you to participate in. We have 65 votes right now. We've got well over 60-some viewers in here. So the turnout is excellent. Appreciate you all for stopping by. Go ahead and vote in tonight's poll. The question I'm asking for your input: is T-Mobile doing enough to protect their customers from cyber attacks, data breaches, and hacking? We're talking about cybersecurity here, people. Is T-Mobile doing enough? Are they holding up their end of the bargain? Are they protecting their customers? Remember, when you sign up with a carrier, you take all that comes with it. You take the plan, you take the customer care, you take the pricing, all the terms, the policies, and you take their dedication to protecting and securing your information. That is fact. Do they violate that, or do they respect that? That's really what this is about. Do you think T-Mobile does enough in this angle of the business? Go ahead and vote in the poll. You got 3 options. Yes, no, and then cybersecurity isn't a big deal. And that is a legitimate option. I included that on purpose because I really do feel, based on the sentiments that I've heard some people vocalize and say, they don't care. I'm not going to comment or speculate their motive, or if I believe them or not. I take it at face value. Well, it's legitimate. So there it is. You got 3 options. Make it happen. Thank you for voting ahead of time. Appreciate you. All right. So next topic. This one, and I think somebody was asking me, actually. I think it was MS. This story out of T-Mobile. T-Mobile is requesting more network help from the FCC. Here's what I mean by network help. All right, so what I mean is T-Mobile is requesting permission for the continued use and free access of available 600 megahertz spectrum. This would be the 6th time in a row, or the 6th consecutive request, that T-Mobile has put in for this unpaid access since the pandemic started about a year and a half ago. All right, so it's now middle of August. The pandemic was last year, and like very late in the winter. It was like February, March, or whatever. So I want to say that maybe it was in April or something like that, they started getting special access to spectrum licenses in the 600 megahertz frequency. They were getting some from Dish. They were able to use that for free. They were also getting some from the FCC, right? The Federal Communications Commission. So they're going to go ahead and they're going to request and submit that request. I think they did it actually a few weeks ago. It was near the end of July. And this would extend the access through the month of November in what's referred to as a special temporary authority. So it's basically an access that the FCC permits upon emergency use. So if there is spectrum that is not being utilized, nobody is leasing it, nobody is operating it, it's not a licensed spectrum that is being paid for, the FCC reserves the right to provide it to, consumer use. People can take advantage of it and use it because they need it. I think the situation here is there are certain markets where T-Mobile really needs the support because their market share is high and they don't have proper densification. And even if they do, they may not have proper backhaul. There's a lot of different things that could lead to a slower network. But as long as you're getting out ample amounts of spectrum, it can offer some remedy to the problem of congestion. So markets like San Diego, California, LA, Tucson, Arizona was mentioned. I think it's Bellingham, Washington was another market that was mentioned. Those, to me, sound like areas where maybe T-Mobile has high market share. And even with all their spectrum holdings and even with their networking and the densification and N41 and all of that, they must be struggling with congestion on many instances. So having any additional spectrum is a boost. So whether it's an additional 5, 10, 15, 20 megahertz of 600 megahertz, it probably helps a lot. Many people reached out to me during the start of the pandemic and said, wow, Band 71 all of a sudden has incredible throughput here. I used to only see 15 megahertz. Now I got 25. Well, that was probably the Dish access. The Dish 600 megahertz being, offered for free to T-Mobile customers. So the FCC was doing a nice job of allowing that to happen. The carriers responded, and it was good to see. Dish also let AT&T and Verizon use AWS. I think only AT&T was able to utilize it in certain places where they had the proper gear to operate that particular block of AWS. So just something to consider here. T-Mobile's claim is that it is in the public's best interest, aka our network is congested in these places. And they went ahead and they just will continue to blame the pandemic, right, as they freeload off of the available FCC 600 megahertz spectrum. I just want to say to the people out there that act and pretend and, like, you know, T-Mobile's this innocent carrier. They're as cutthroat as they come. Wolf in sheep's clothing, you know, Eugene. Sweaty armpits. But here they are, right? They're, oh, we need help. Anyways, T-Mobile said we will put the otherwise fallow spectrum to work. All right, good. I'm cool with that. As long as it's helping people, I'm on that side. I don't care about carriers. I never cared about carriers. I will never place a carrier in front of the consumer. It will never happen. Ever. You will never come a day where I'm going to support T-Mobile, Verizon, or AT&T before the people. Because we're the consumers. It's about us. They already have the advantage. They're the multi-billion-dollar corporation. We're the innocent people that have, you know, minimal salaries, and we work hard for a little, you know. So, yeah, I'll always support the people. I'm always on the people's side. I am one of the people. T-Mobile 700 megahertz apparently has some pretty bad interference and issues along the Mexico border. And this type of spectrum access is going to help a lot. As that 700 megahertz becomes, you know, I mean, I think in most cases they only have like 5 megahertz of band 12 anyways. So just getting the additional band 71, whether it's used for 5G or LTE, makes no difference. I'm assuming that they probably put it to LTE or some to LTE and some to 5G. So this will boost any of those band 12 issues as well with the interference with Mexico telco. The DOJ totally dropped the ball in this instance. What I wanted to speak to is that Dish has a lot of 600 megahertz spectrum. But T-Mobile has repeatedly said they don't want to pay them to use it. I remember last year looking at a letter from T-Mobile. I don't know if it was, I forget the PDF. It was either written to Dish or it was written to the FCC in response to Dish requesting a lease deal. And then I think it ended up going to the DOJ. So Dish has a bunch of 600 megahertz and they have it completely national. So it makes sense that T-Mobile could just lease it from Dish while they're building out their network. And then it's like a win-win situation. T-Mobile pays for the access, allowing Dish to generate revenue, helping facilitate the fourth carrier. And then T-Mobile gets the added capacity to their low-band frequencies, and everybody wins. But T-Mobile doesn't want to pay Dish. They will pay Columbia Capital. They will pay, for EBS and BRS licenses to churches and schools, but they will not pay Dish. And people have the guts and the gumption to tell me that T-Mobile's not anti-competitive. It's funny. I believe T-Mobile was forced by the DOJ last year, around this time of the year actually. They were forced to, I believe, have 30% of their populated areas from Dish with the 600 megahertz. Dish does have national, so that's terrible. DOJ completely dropped the ball in those merger terms. It should have been way more than just 30% of the population. That should have been in at least 50 top PEAs. It should be like 70 to 80% pops. Anyways, I hope that as Dish starts to build out its network, I hope Dish requests similar access from the FCC, and the FCC allows it, just despite T-Mobile. Because remember, Dish is the small carrier. T-Mobile's the big carrier that just eliminated another one and got a 5G stimulus from the government, from the DOJ. No more sore winner than sweaty armpits himself, Eugene. Taking it all the way. Yeah, that's a good question, David. All right, so good for the customer getting extra capacity. T-Mobile taking advantage of the pandemic or whatever. All right, keep that same energy, for everybody that hates on Dish. Keep that same energy about T-Mobile when you see things like this. We're the poor little carrier. We're the little guy. There's only 3 wireless carriers right now. Ain't no little carriers. You're bigger than AT&T, according to you. Or are we just going to speak out of both sides of our mouth? Yeah, we have more postpaid customers than AT&T. But then you want to cry we're the little carrier. Keep that same energy. What's up, my brother Siova? Michael West in the house. All right, so let's actually stick to the script here, and let's kind of pivot. But we'll stay with the theme of T-Mobile. Okay, so the question here is, do you all think, and I'll look at some of the live chat comments, do you think that cybersecurity can be marketed? Do you think that cybersecurity is important enough where Verizon, AT&T, I'll leave T-Mobile out of this because their cybersecurity is in question right now, but maybe Dish, can they utilize and leverage saying things and marketing, we have a very secure system. Our back-end system, our network, our secured data, can it be marketed? And do you think if they do that, do they point back to T-Mobile and say, this is how to not do it, here's what we do? We do this cybersecurity thing for real. I got to thinking about that because Carlos brought it up in our last conversation. We were talking on the phone. And at first I was just like, man, that's brilliant. You're taking advantage of the opportunity at the most vulnerable time. No carrier has taken advantage of opportunities better than T-Mobile. So now I think it would be ironic that it would backfire and kind of the tables would turn on them, you know? And it appears, and this is not me trying to target any one carrier, but it appears that based on the FCC probe, it looks like T-Mobile actually may be guilty of negligence. The only time that we see like the FCC getting involved, the FBI getting involved. Now, obviously, if breaches are big enough, big entities can get involved. But when the FCC does, it's because it's a telco company, right? It's a telecom industry monster. They're probably looking for the details as to how T-Mobile dropped the ball. That's what the FCC is probably doing. I feel like that's probably 99% likely. I don't know what they're going to find. I have no clue. I don't know how many vulnerabilities there were or what type of vulnerabilities. I don't know. But clearly there was something, and now the FCC is knocking at their door. And they're going to have to be transparent, and they're going to have to show them and tell the truth and all of that. Because when you lie and you try to conceal, I think it just gets worse. You know, so I think there'll be a bit of a follow-up. We may never get all the details, but I'm sure there are some things that we will learn about that. And the FCC will make a public comment about it and stuff like that. So that'll be coming. But when I think about as a marketing strategy, this would be Verizon's chance. They have had very little growth over the course of the last several years. They still don't have net growth this year. Quarter one, they lost like 200,000 customers. Quarter two, they gained 180,000 customers. So technically, from their postpaid branded, they're still at a loss. Technically, I'm sure at this point, mid Q3, they probably have a gain at now, but they have like no growth. Could this be an opportunity to take market share to get people porting out from T-Mobile over to their network, getting them on different types of premium unlimited plans, giving them a deal on a trade-in, $650 for a phone, you know, whatever it is. I think that would be smart for them. I think there's probably been ongoing meetings all week with CEOs, CFOs, and you know the business managers and the business executives. How do we market this? The strategy, the approach. You know, how do we do the advertisement? What's going to be our slogan? What's going to be our theme? How do we build these commercials? Where do we air? How frequently? That's all probably going on right now. And I think the same can be said for even AT&T, unless they end up getting hacked. If they can confirm it, they have yet to confirm it. So I have a really, really hard time making the update videos. I know you guys want to know. And that's my goal whenever I make videos, even if they're speculative. My goal is to just make you aware of situations, to report. I'm not a journalist. Like, I'm a school teacher. But I'm an enthusiast, and I know I'm interested, so there must be others that are too. So it's not me trying to build up, the pressure. It's not me trying to put, gas on the flames. But people have been asking me, so I've been reporting, giving it to you guys. Here's what I know. Here's what is confirmed. Here's what is speculation. These are the claims of the hackers. This is the verbiage from AT&T. As of right now, AT&T has yet to confirm any hack on their side. The hackers are claiming that they hacked AT&T the same way that they hacked T-Mobile. It's the same hackers, apparently, and AT&T is saying, look, we know who those hackers are. We're aware of what they've done in terms of hacking. We understand that they recently hacked T-Mobile. We understand that they are hacking others, but they have yet to hack our systems. That's the situation with AT&T. So as it pertains to AT&T, purely speculative. We're going off of hearsay, so it's really hard to call it. Just like I said in the first video, put it on the back burner as a possible outcome in the future. We'll wait to see if AT&T makes another statement, and if it contradicts their first one, we'll see. So if AT&T is off the hook and they don't have a hack, and Verizon doesn't get hacked and all these things, do they start to leverage marketing strategy into hacking? We are secure to the cyber attacks. We're paying very close attention to these protections. We care about your data. It's safe here. These sorts of things. But I do think that there is potential for cybersecurity as a marketing tool, as a strategy. I think it'd be smart to do so. If it was to translate into porting out 50,000 customers from T-Mobile, 100,000 customers from T-Mobile, brilliant. Those are customers you likely would not have had before, and they could have ported it out anywhere. They could have gone to AT&T. They could have gone to Boost. They could have gone to Mint. They could have gone anywhere. Who knows? They could have gone to prepaid and not given all their personal information. You know what I mean? It could be a lot of different things. But it makes sense. Now, the Dish perspective is they don't have a postpaid service yet. So that would have to wait. We'll see. But if I was a mobile network operator, a virtual network operator, like a prepaid MVNO, I would do it too. We don't ask for your personal information. We don't want your social security number. We don't need your driver's license. We don't want your personal information. We want you to just enjoy our service and pay your bill. I swear, I would do, and this is basically how Los Mobile is. All they want to do is give you service, make you happy, and collect what is due. That is a good business transaction. And what's even crazier is there are people on postpaid that don't even finance phones and don't need to run their credit and shouldn't even have to put in their driver's license. Their history of payments is flawless. They're even on auto pay. I mean, what does a carrier have to lose if a payment goes missed 1 month or it's just late or something? Like, seriously. They've got way more risk giving people $1,000 phones. Final votes, please cast them in tonight's poll. You'll find it in the live chat in that blue box. Is T-Mobile doing enough to protect their customers from cyber attacking, data breaches, and hacks? We've got 3 options. Yes, no, and then the third option is cybersecurity isn't a big deal. Let's go ahead and make our final votes. Go ahead and cast those. The SMT Nation, let your voice be heard. And I think we'll go ahead and close out the poll if it'll let me. Go ahead and put in your final vote. And ended. And it looks like those are some incredible numbers. We had 90%. 90. Oh. 89%. Excuse me. There must have just been one last vote at the end. Is T-Mobile doing enough to protect their customers from cyber attacks, data breaches, and hacking? 89% say no. 10% say yes. And 0% say cybersecurity isn't a big deal. That's a nice turnout. I was really hoping it would have been a little bit higher than 89%. I mean, the closer it got to 100%, the happier I'd be. But good to see that we got 97 votes there, and people are seeing it, I think, in the right way. I had a poll a couple of days ago on the YouTube communities poll. How many more hacks and customer data breaches have to occur for you to leave T-Mobile to another carrier? So this question only applies to T-Mobile customers. 20% of people said one more hack and I'm gone. 2% of the people said 2 more times and I'm gone. 52% of people said I'm gone after this one, so they're planning a move. And then 25% of people said I'm not switching. I don't care that my personal info was compromised. That's crazy. In that poll, 1 out of every 4 people said I don't care about my personal information. Those people have problems. Their credit is probably trash and they don't care. And I think the other ones are just, I don't know, maybe they're just shameless shills. I have no idea. Who knows? On the YouTube side, there were 421 votes, so big shout out to the SMT community. Thanks for voting in that poll. Also got some comments. I'm going to read some of the comments for you guys. This one from Big Term. Been on AT&T for 6 months. Couldn't stand the extremely poor T-Mobile coverage in rural Michigan. So it looks like he left before the hack. Nepali Tech Reviews. With Verizon for more than 10 years, got 5 lines, every day is worth it. Jason C, I think he might be in the live chat. I've been gone since December of 19. Got tired of poor coverage. Switched to AT&T. They gave me $750 in prepaid Visa cards to get me to switch. They gave me an iPhone SE 2020 for $5 a month. AT&T has better coverage and service. Luisito said, I love T-Mobile in my area, but I don't want anything to be compromised, so I'm going to AT&T. Wow, a lot of people thinking AT&T here. CD says, my credit is crappy. No one wants my information. Fantastic. Big shout out to CD, keeping it real. Darian, he's going to Verizon. Robson says, I'd leave if I didn't have a phone on finance. Would jump to AT&T ASAP if they paid off phones. I think they do. They pay to switch. Let's see here. I'm not going to say this guy's statement because I wouldn't want to embarrass him, but he legit typed this out. Companies have data breaches all the time. We know. Most people are used to it by now. I am. What? If people leave more data bandwidth for me, their network is great in my area. Even well, this guy needs some periods or something. Oh God. Oh my, like that's some low standards. My goodness. All right, don't care. I refuse to accept it as just easy. I'm not just gonna concede to just give it up smooth and call it a day. I refuse. I already left for cricket. That might be smart because prepaid doesn't collect the same data and personal information. Most of the people are saying they left because of bad service. Edward says, I'll never go to T-Mobile. For me, the only two true carriers in the U.S. are AT&T and Verizon. So there you go. That was the poll on YouTube. And we also ran a similar poll on Twitter. So what we could do is we could take a look at that and see how that compared to the YouTube poll. Could be different. Who knows? Let's take a look at these numbers, shall we? I think it was a couple of days ago. T-Mobile hacks and sensitive consumer information. How many more times does this have to happen for you to leave for another carrier? One more time and I'm out, 11%. Two more times and I'm gone, 6%. This one was enough, deuces, 61%. Don't care about my personal data, 22%. That number is way too high. What is wrong with these people? Comment from Metro PCS community. Most customers don't understand that once their personal information hits the dark web, it is there forever. That is fact. If I hadn't left for AT&T already, I would have left from this one. This person commented, and I'm not going to say any names. I guess that's not good. Why frame the last in such a negative light? Data breaches are bad as long as the company does right by their customers. I don't see it being super bad. Just my opinion. How are they doing right by their customers if they have 5 hacks in 4 years? How? This is crazy. Another person. I don't care. I love T-Mobile. They don't care about their personal information. Oh my goodness. I'm going to put an AT&T SIM into slot 2. I'm going to cancel my T-Mobile account if this happens again. All right, there we have it. That's the voice of the people. That is the SMT Nation. You all let your voice be heard. I appreciate all the votes on Twitter, all the votes on YouTube, and all the votes in tonight's live chat. What's up, Big Ron? How you, bro? Good to see you, man. I know that T-Mobile's given out like a lot of protections now, like different, like, I don't know, McAfee and all these other things. It might be too little too late for some of these customers. They might not be able to keep them. I know they're doing like account credits and stuff like that. Maybe that helps. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it does something for you. Who knows? I say leverage it. If they'll give you credits, take advantage of it. Go ahead. Here is a tweet. Big shout out to Amir. Thanks for sharing this with me. T-Mobile says, we place the highest priority on customer account security and the investigation is ongoing. I'm sorry, guys, but they're being probed and investigated by the FCC. There's a ginormous hole somewhere. And if they get hit with that because of neglect and not being attentive to it, they're going to get fined bad. And you as the consumer, you pay the price. They'll just call it a business expense and it'll be a tax write-off. But your information is out there. So no, they don't care about you're not the highest priority when it comes to security. Unfortunately, that's just the truth. Again, I'm not going to speak to Verizon and AT&T because they haven't been hacked to this degree, this many times, or at this scale. If and when they do, I'll hit them hard. I mean, this matters. This stuff is important to consumers. Okay. I think that's it. I think we'll leave it at that. I think we'll wrap up the show. Thank you to all that stopped by to hang out and listen in and get involved in the live chat, for all that voted. Thank you. If it is your first time here, first time on the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Join the SMT community. Turn on bell notification icon. Click all so you never miss an upload. Also in the description box, there is a link for the Patreon community. If you would like to join the community, you can get exclusive videos. You can get Patreon exclusive live streams. You get early access to videos. You get different types of discounts and promotions for Los Mobile. As we expand the Los Mobile and deepen that relationship, we'll be looking at other carriers, not just the Death Star, not just Big Blue, but we'll be looking to expand that. So we'll be keeping that partnership in place, giving you as much as we can there in that group with the Patreon. So link is in the description box for that. Also on Twitter, @SneedTech. Hashtag 2LiveCrew for those of you that were here at the live, 8:58 p.m., August 20th, 2021. Hashtag Replay Crew whenever you watch this on DVR. Hashtag Mod Squad for all my moderators. Got the blue letters with the big wrenches. Appreciate you guys. And hashtag Ravioli Gang if you were eating dinner or snacking while you were listening or watching this. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the SMT. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for being a part of this community. We hope to see you soon on the next show. Peace.